My name is Jonathan Gay, and I'm with the Kentucky Innovation Network. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Kentucky Innovation Network, also known as the Innovation and Commercialization Center program. Warren Nash, of course, is the director in Lexington. We have offices at EKU, Morehead, Louisville, lots of other places, and I'm at Morehead State University. So we're here today on behalf of a couple different organizations. First, of course, the Kentucky Innovation Network. What we do is provide business assistance services to entrepreneurs throughout the state of Kentucky. Our work is free. We're business consultants, business assistance providers. I'm an attorney. My colleague, Christelle Smith, here today from EKU, has an MBA, used to work with corporate America, has marketing skills. We've got lots of different backgrounds. I think Warren's an attorney as well. So we come at it from a lot of different perspectives and angles, and I think that we find that we usually can add value to just about any business. So feel free to give us a call. We're at kyinnovation.com, and like I said, we are no charge to our clients. We're paid for by the state of Kentucky to work with small businesses and entrepreneurs. So that's a quick sales pitch for the Kentucky Innovation Network. We're also here on behalf of TechBase 10. TechBase 10 is a partnership that was spurred by the Kentucky Innovation Network. We recognized that a lot of the entrepreneurs that we were working with had an IT background, and we recognized that that was an area that we could encourage growth in regardless of whether we're in Morehead, Kentucky or Lexington, Kentucky. And so we looked to come together to create this network of IT providers, service providers, entrepreneurs, people in the web business, even people in the film business, people who are developing apps, people who are developing software applications. And we want to create a network both for them to come together and collaborate on different projects such as this, to learn, but also to create a platform for them to occasionally go after business together. So that's another project that we're working on, where we're trying to find stranded development talent or development talent where they've got spare and excess bandwidth. How can we bring those folks together, whether they're in Breathitt County or Lexington or Louisville? So that's another program that we launched as of August at Christelle Smith's location at EKU. And you can find out more about it, techbase10.com. It's still rather new, but this is the fourth event, I believe, that we've had, and we're proud to sponsor this event. So this is Leif and Lamar's show, and then a little bit later we're going to introduce an attorney, but I'm going to turn it over at this point to Lamar.
Hello, everybody. I'm Lamar Wilson, 1/2 of 2/12. That doesn't make me 1/6. It just makes me 1/2 of 2/12. Thank you all for coming out today. Today is Bitcoin 101. Like I said, that's why I dressed up professorially. Anybody that knows me, I usually have on sandals, but today I decided to cover my toes. So hope you guys learned something for what we're doing today. How many people in here heard about Bitcoin before they saw the whole Bitcoin picture that we put up on Facebook? At least you heard about it. That's good. So does anybody know what Bitcoin is? Okay. Like, you heard about it, but do you know what it is? The people that think they know what it is, raise your hand. Okay, let's see. So I have this video. Leif, do you have it up here? You didn't put it up? Let's find this video. Here we go. There's a video that some wonderful people did. See if we can connect to them. That's not them. Sorry about that. I thought Leif had it up here for me. Uh-oh. You know what? We're going to leave that video alone. Leif, find that video for me. We'll play it later. I thought Leif put it up there. Leif said he was going to put it up there for me, but he's eating his vegan food, so can't trust a vegan. They don't eat enough chicken. No, but so the video basically was, it's a parody on what people think Bitcoin is. And people think a lot of stuff about Bitcoin. The first thing I always hear is, that's that funny money. I sat down with a couple of hedge fund managers, and the first thing they said was, you're talking about that funny money, right? So I started thinking to myself, what do they mean by funny money? Do they mean it's not backed by anything? Do they mean there's not like a gold standard backing it? And so then I started saying, maybe U.S. currency is funny money. Maybe. So the question is, today we're going to ask, is Bitcoin a revolution or is it crazy? Uh-oh. And Firefox doesn't like me either. I feel like Bill Gates. He always messes up during the presentation. Okay, doesn't that say allow? Am I right? That's why I feel like Bill Gates, because I'm using a Microsoft computer. That's the problem. That's the problem. So anyway, we'll leave that alone as well. So Bitcoin, what it is in a nutshell, Bitcoin is a distributed ledger. Bitcoin is also a currency. Bitcoin is a protocol on which you can build other things on top of. See, a lot of people only know Bitcoin for being the currency or as it's being traded as a commodity right now. A lot of people are buying it and selling it and buying and selling it and speculating a lot on it. But Bitcoin is a lot more than that. So let me tell you about how I got into Bitcoin. It was probably about, 2 years ago. Leif and I were in California, and we were trying to pitch this game company we had called Fever. And we were talking to a VC, and after we talked to him, he said, so Fever, you have this virtual currency? And I was like, yeah. He's like, well, have you heard of Bitcoin? He said, if you know anybody in Bitcoin, let me know. So Leif and I went, and we looked up Bitcoin. We was like, that's not what we're trying to do. We were just doing it with games. We were basically making a token system for games. So fast forward, when we started seeing Bitcoin come up again, and we were like, that's that Bitcoin that he was talking about a long time ago, like 2 years ago. And we looked at it, and I said, you know what? I'm going to look into it a lot deeper. So about February or March of this year, I started looking into, last year, we in a new year, I started looking into it, and I said, what is this Bitcoin? So I went and found what is called the Satoshi Nakamoto white paper on Bitcoin. So who's Satoshi Nakamoto? Nobody knows. Satoshi Nakamoto is a synonymous person, group, being, robot. I don't know who Satoshi is, but whoever he is, he invented this thing called Bitcoin. And I advise everyone in this room, because if you come to a Bitcoin one-on-one class, you can't come to a Bitcoin one-on-one class without knowing Satoshi Nakamoto and his white paper. So get the white paper. It's about 9 pages long. It's not that long at all. Read the white paper. Read what his idea was. Because then when I looked at the idea and I saw what Satoshi Nakamoto had presented to the world, whoever he is, whoever she is, whoever they are, I realized that it's something new. And it's something that's going to change the way we do business. And me being an entrepreneur, I saw opportunity in that. So I started looking at it, and for 6 months, I just studied it. I was like, man, what the heck is this? This is crazy. This is funny money. I was like, what is this? And I read it, and I just got inspired because to me, it represented freedom, right? It represented an opportunity for a guy with a finance degree and a guy who programs to marry both worlds together and figure something out. So I started looking into it, and like I said, I was skeptical at first because at the beginning, I started realizing that there were not too many easy ways to get Bitcoin. You had to send your money to some other country, go to some exchange, try to figure out what the heck is going on, and then trust them with your money and then find out that they can't give you your money back when you're trying to withdraw it for like 6 months. That was early. This is early. This is who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Mt. Gox. Mt. Gox was the first big exchange. It was the world's largest exchange. And of course, with every new technology and every new invention, there are going to be hiccups. So Mt. Gox was a major hiccup, and it really hurt a lot of people at first because when you're trying to tell somebody about it and they go read about Mt. Gox and Mt. Gox got the money seized and all of this other stuff, you start going, oh man, should I really be connected to this thing? And then the next thing that happened, you start realizing that most of the news stories were talking about Bitcoin being illegal because people were using it for online drug trade. So the Silk Road. Has anybody heard of the Silk Road? Don't raise your hand, please. Don't raise your hand. Just give me a nod, a wink or something. Okay? So people were using it on the Silk Road, and it was allowing people to send value for drugs they were ordering online and send it in the mail. Now, I think that marketplace got up to be a $2 billion marketplace. And down the road, the government caught them. And actually, the government probably has the largest, one of the largest Bitcoin addresses in the world.
U.S. government.
The U.S. government. And they're actually, today I just heard that they have put in to sell those. So they're about to put that all back on the market here soon. Okay? So I was looking at that and I said, man, I don't do drugs. I don't sell drugs. Why do I want to get in this drug thing? Right? So I kept looking. And so I started seeing after he got caught, it was like, I got to do something because I still want to marry this technology with my finance background. So I said, I got to figure it out because there's so much freedom in being able to take your money and move it where you want to, when you want to who you want to, for very little cost. That's what Bitcoin can do. You can take $194 million worth of value and send it from here to North Korea to Dennis Rodman for about 8 cents. Matter of fact, you can do that one for free. You can send $194 million worth of value from one country to another country that don't even like us for free. So then what do you think people say about that? Well, it's going to fund terrorism. Now you can just fund terrorists. So you notice I'm getting all of this negative stuff out because I want to let you know it's either Firefox or it's either a revolution or it's a craze. I don't know what happened to my... Oh, you brought the video up? See, that's what I'm talking about. That's why I got a good partner. Thank you, Leif. I appreciate it. We'll get to that later. Matter of fact, let me show you that now. And then we'll get back on it. Because I want y'all to see what a lot of people think about. What in the world? No.
Bitcoin. That's like so the BitTorrent and Bitcoin. Bitcoin is.
That's weird.
Oh, we got to bomb together the table.
Do we? Okay, there we go. Yeah, let me back it up. Yeah, next time we use a Mac. I told Leif, but he was like, no, let's just use the built-in.
That's like.
I'm gonna make it bigger so everybody can see it. Now we got enough. Allow it.
So there's BitTorrents and Bitcoin is like how you calculate money.
Bitcoin is, have you ever played Sonic the Hedgehog?
So it's like you steal money. I absolutely tell people not to do it.
If you like hit a block hard enough, like a little just like a shaving of a coin will come out.
Bitcoin. Of all of the bits, Bitcoin is probably my. You know, I don't want to say it's my favorite bit.
What is Bitcoin? It's Bitcoin. It's like when you get like an email and then you don't answer it for a while, and then like this little chime goes on to let you know that you have an email.
I would say when I rank the bits, it goes BitDoor, BitOrg, Bitman, and then right there in that fourth place spot, it's like back and forth between Bitcoin and Bitcoin.
Bitcoin is a currency. It's a currency that it's not necessarily a monetary currency, but it's a kind of a bartering system that we have with the other companies in our building, where you can swap sodas or snacks.
Bitcoin. Glad you asked. Bitcoin is a form of currency for drug dealers. It was invented by the Winklevoss twins, Winklevi, who are, of course, the twin brothers who invented Facebook when they were at Princeton. Bitcoin? What isn't Bitcoin? Next.
And so people just, you hit your keyboard, and it's sort of like an Easter egg type thing where once in a while there will just be coins that pop out of your keyboard, and then you can use those to buy drugs.
So that's why I was trying to get you guys to see that, because usually when you talk to people about Bitcoin, it can get pretty, okay, never mind, ridiculous. But where was I at? I was talking about the Bitcoin being able to take money and transfer it quickly. The thing is how does that work? And why would you trust $194 million in the hands of some technology? Well, why would you trust math? Why do we trust math? Right? It works. So the way it works is Bitcoin is this ledger. So let's say I want to make a transaction. What's your name?
Luke.
To Luke. I want to send some money to Luke. So I say, here, Luke, here's some money. But I want to make sure everybody in this network here knows that I gave Luke this money that I own. Because I own it, I signed it, it's in my name. I'm giving it to Luke, but everybody needs to know it. So all of you all have the same ledger, and everybody knows as soon as I pay Luke, I say, I paid Luke, and everybody writes it down. He paid Luke. So now you know that my ownership of my money, my asset, went to Luke, and everybody knows it. That's the way Bitcoin works. Bitcoin is this ledger that every single person in the world that downloads the node, that becomes a node, gets the ledger on their computer. Now, there's a problem that comes about when you're trying to get consensus on a network. When you're trying to have consensus around a bunch of nodes. So if a bunch of nodes are going to do the same thing, you have to agree that everybody has the same ledger. Because think about it. If I can say I have an asset and give it to him, there's somebody in this room that'll write down that they have an asset that they really don't have, and they'll send it to somebody. Because all of a sudden it'll just be Lamar, that's Lamar to Luke. Lamar to Luke. But then what if I take the same asset I have and I say, I want to take, at the same exact time, I'm going to send my asset to Luke, and I'm going to send my asset to Christelle. So Lamar to
Luke.
Lamar to Christelle. I send it at the same time, digitally. You know what that's called? Anybody know what that's called?
Cheating.
What's it called? It's called a double spend. Because digitally you can do that, right? I can push a button, send it, and all of a sudden the network gets both transactions at the same time. So now I say, Lamar to Christelle, and you guys write both of them down. But the problem is I don't have the asset anymore. And one of them can't have the asset. So what we have is what's called the Byzantine general problem. Okay? Think about a bunch of Byzantine generals about to attack a city. And they have to have consensus to know when they're going to attack at the same exact time. But the problem is the only way they can get a message from this general to this general is to send a messenger probably through a place that don't want them to get the message because they're going to attack it. So this is what Bitcoin solves. Bitcoin allows you to make this double spin, but whoever got the spin first wins. So what it does, let's think about that. So what it does is there's a transaction from me to Luke. I have that transaction, and my output becomes Luke's new input. My output becomes Christelle's new input. But I sent it to Luke first because my right hand's faster than my left hand. So I sent it to Luke first. So what happens, that transaction gets put into a block of transactions. When I went out and I said, everybody, I spent money with Luke. You wrote it down and somebody started working on it. Somebody tried to verify that my output was legitimate and it went to Luke, right? So that transaction goes into what's called a block, okay? So that block is made up of many transactions. And so when you have, is everybody following me? If you're not following me, raise your hand. I'll stop, slow down. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible. So that block becomes what is worked on by what's called miners. So you're like, miners? Yes, miners. They have to do work on this block to verify that this transaction is legitimate using cryptography. So now this transaction is legitimate. That one's not there yet. So all of a sudden, these miners start working on the block. They're working. They're trying to find a hash. They're trying to find the solve an equation for a hash, like a double 256 hash, to get zeros at the front, a certain number of zeros at the front of the transaction. And once they figure it out, they'll tell everybody and say, listen, this is legitimate. Here's a block. Okay? So these miners are working on this all the time. They're always working on it to try to make sure that these transactions are right. And when they find the problem, they make a block. So just like my output went to you, and then your input becomes the output of your next transaction, all of that has a chain. So you have a transaction chain that is verifiable because it's like DNA. It has a parent. This went to you, yours went to them, and we keep that going on this ledger. So you make sure that every single line of the ledger is legitimate. Are y'all catching this? Everybody shaking? Okay, good. I didn't know if I was going to be able to explain blocks like that. So the blocks do the same exact thing. So that block that the miner worked on, it goes out and now it becomes part of a blockchain. So that starts a new chain as well. So there's transactions in the block, and each block is the parent of the next one. You use the hash of this one as the previous hash in the next block so that you always are verifiable. You should be able to 256 this and tell that this one is owned by that one and this is owned by that one. So what happens to Christelle's transaction? She didn't make it in the block. So she didn't make it in the block, so the entire rest of the chain knows that if I make a block with Christelle's transaction in it, it's no go. Every single computer knows that. Every node on the network knows that her transaction is bad. Why is that? Because in a perfect world, the nodes will the longest blockchain will be the one that everyone trusts, right? Because once you make the block, everybody starts verifying each block, and if most of the nodes are legitimate, they're going to verify the block correctly, and that blockchain will get longer because you have to keep working on from the block before. So if there's somebody in the network who wants to be fraudulent, they have to work on not only the block they're at, they have to go back about 6 or 7 blocks and work on every one and change every single hash and then beat the line that's going in front of that. So they have to basically start from here and make up all of this ground as this one continues to move. See how hard that gets? You have to have a lot of computational power to go back and reverse all of those hashes to beat the chain. And that's called, it's a theoretical thing called a 51% attack. If you have 51% of the network of the hashing power, you can do that. Theoretically. It hasn't happened, so what's going on? It hasn't happened, so who knows if it will. But right now, we're at a point in Bitcoin history where the difficulty to do that is so through the roof. You got to have a lot of computational power to make that happen. So now that we got that basis down there and we know that this math is taking care of itself and we know that we can trust all the other nodes because all of them have a proof of work. There's a proof of work to it. We know that they worked on it and it worked. And this one basically is the father of this one, is the father of this one, is the father of this one. We have a DNA strand, basically. We know that we can trust it without having any third party be involved. We don't have to have a central bank to tell us that this transaction worked because code tells us that it works. We don't have to have a clearinghouse to tell us that this money went to here and should go there. We know that because I paid Randall or I paid Luke, that's verifiable based on the mathematics and the cryptography. We know that. So we basically wiped out that third party trust. We don't have to trust that anymore because we trust in the mathematics. And then you say, okay, well, it's code. How do you trust the code? Well, it's open source code. It's open source. So if you want to go look at the code, go look at the code. There are thousands of people looking at this code every single day, working on the code, making sure the code works, making sure that they can trust it. So now instead of having a hierarchical thing that says you need to trust us because we're at the top, now you trust in everybody in the network. Now you trust in the people, basically. And I know it sounds very idealistic, but that's me now. Now we're getting into why I really like Bitcoin. Because instead of the power coming from here in the financial system of the Fed, instead of allowing a government to print your money away, and a lot of times, and I'm not talking about the United States government so much, but they do the same thing. But think about the 193 other currencies in the world. Think about the Zimbabwe dollar. I think they printed a $10 trillion bill. And it's only worth a cup of coffee. Seriously. But why are they printing this? Because they want to be able to go buy guns, tanks, bombs, They just make up currency so they can use it to go buy things to fund wars and things. They keep printing money, and guess who's it's at the detriment of? The people who live in the country. You keep adding to the money supply over and over and over again. What happens to if they keep adding dollars, what happens to your dollar? It devalues. That's why I like Bitcoin, because guess what? The mathematics of Bitcoin says that there will only be how many, Andy, how many will there be? 21 million? 21 million. 21 million Bitcoins, period. So we know how many Bitcoins will ever be printed, ever. So no, you're not going to have some government keep adding more Bitcoins to the pile. You're not going to have somebody deflating your value away. You're not going to have them compressing your value to death for their benefit. That's power in Bitcoin. Why else do I like Bitcoin? Well, not only can you put currency that way on the blockchain, you can start using the blockchain for other things. Like things that lawyers, you normally have to trust lawyers. Any lawyers in the room, I'm not trying to take your job. But if I can have a multi-signature transaction to where Luke and I go into a transaction together, and I have a third party that has a key, and that third party, the only way that money can be sent to either one of us is if the third party comes in and uses their key. Right? So I know he's not going to run off with the money, and I know I'm not going to run off with the money. But that third party, they have a key that they can sign, and usually they can go and verify whatever it is. So if you gave him property and there's a deed or whatever it is, if I need to put a deed on the chain, I can put a deed on the chain, use 2 keys, and then once you get the property and I give it to you, sign the key, you get the money. You don't have to go through the bank. You don't have to go get a cashier's check. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You just transfer the funds. That's powerful. You know what else is powerful to me? It's powerful that you could take a Bitcoin transaction, be on the side of the road in Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, a wallet, and have a fuel pump there on the side of the road that's connected with a wireless connection and pay for fuel without dealing with a bank or anything. You know why I know that can happen? Because the guy who did that is in this room. He invented a fuel pump that takes Bitcoin. A liquid dispenser. When I saw that, to be honest with you guys, that's when I went all the way in. No, seriously. When I saw that there was that much freedom, this guy in Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, could drive a truck up with a fuel dispenser on the back and literally take his wallet, his Bitcoin wallet, and pay. So what's a Bitcoin wallet? A Bitcoin wallet is just a private key or a group of keys which allow you to take the Bitcoin in. So what happens is when you make a wallet, you get a public key and you get a private key. Your public key is like your bank account. Your private key is like your PIN number. You can give everybody your bank account number, right? Right? You can give people your bank account number. They can walk to the bank and put money in your bank account. It's like you want to deposit some money. But you'll never give them your PIN. You'll never give them access, your signature. Because that's the only way you can send money or withdraw money from your bank account. That's what the public and private key allows you to do. So this is Andy Schroeder. That's him right there, the guy that just came in. He's the inventor. He took his wallet and made a transaction, and the pump started pumping. He didn't need Visa. He didn't need the guy down at the 7-Eleven or down the street at Shellco or whatever. He didn't need that. He had the freedom to do that without anybody in the middle. Think about taking Visa out of the middle. Think about that transaction. They charge you. You know what most of that fee is in the transaction? What's that fee? But why do they charge it? What is most of it going to? Fraud. Fraud protection. It's going to fraud protection. Because last time I checked, Target got, 40 million? It's how many? 70. Oh, it's up. Oh, okay, that's even better. 70 million credit cards stolen. So Visa, it's kind of crazy. But with Bitcoin, you don't have to worry about that. Because instead of it being a pool transaction, because when you use a Visa card, you're basically giving Visa permission to pull from your bank account and give it to somebody else. That's why they can charge back, because guess what? They can pull from their bank account and give it back to you. But in Bitcoin, it's the closest thing we have to cash in the digital sense. If I give you a Bitcoin, I can't get it back. I can get it back if I come ask you for a refund or something. The same way with cash. If you pay for something in cash, my man right here owns Orange Leaf. If I pay for something in cash and the Orange Leaf gets me sick, I gotta come talk to you, right? Oh, something happened? Oh, I gotta come talk to him about getting it back. And that's the same way with Bitcoin. Bitcoin allows me to pay somebody and make it irreversible, which takes out a lot of those fees. Because now I don't have to worry about fraud protection. Because I know that the blockchain is going to verify it if everything is legit. If it's not legit, it's not going to verify it, and then I'm not going to give you your item. That's what you have to understand. Right now, how much is it? Anybody take credit cards? How much is it for a chargeback? 20 bucks? Nobody knows? Nobody take credit cards? It's about 20 bucks for a chargeback. Huh?
It's probably more than that.
It might be more than that. $20. So if somebody comes to you, pays you, and they go back and say, listen, I didn't get what I was supposed to get, even though they might have gotten it, the bank will go into your bank account, give them their money back, and charge you $20. That's crazy. That's crazy. You don't have to deal with that. They said that the only way they could change that system, they have to invest a lot of money. No, there's a solution right now. Right at this moment, there's a solution for that at this moment. What about remittances? You know what remittances are? What are remittances? People sending money back home, right? How much does Western Union charge for $50 send back home? They got a deal out. I saw it. It's $5. So you sending money to some of the poorest countries in the world, and you taking 10% of it before it even gets there. What's $5 worth in Zimbabwe? What's $5 worth in Kenya? What's $5 worth in Mexico, Guatemala, Argentina? What's $5 worth? But you're taking it from them, and you don't have to. I can send $50 worth of value to Argentina, we just noticed, for nothing. Or very little, maybe 6 or 7 cents. Think about putting that $5 back. Some of the poorest countries in the world, the countries that we give the most aid to. Think about this. We give a lot of aid to these poor countries, and then when they try to aid themselves and help themselves, we charge them on that side too. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. To me, Bitcoin is most important for those people in these countries who are unbanked. The World Bank said there's 2.5 billion people that are unbanked. 2.5 billion. Now you add their families in there, that's about 6 billion. You probably get to 6 billion, quick. So 6 billion people who don't have any access to financial services or banks. They can't store their money. They have nowhere to keep it safe. See, we don't have that problem here. We like, oh, we got a bank account and we got FDIC, but in some of these countries, they have nowhere to put their money. Am I into the time? What time is it? I'm good. They have nowhere to put their money. So, like I said, with the Zimbabwean dollar, or with Kenya. In Kenya, right now, they use a service called M-Pesa. They are far ahead of us as far as digital mobile payments. They use their phone to pay each other. It's a currency called M-Pesa that's issued by the phone company. Every M-Pesa wallet has a Bitcoin wallet attached to it. So I think it's 30% of the people in Kenya now have access to Bitcoin. They don't have Bitcoin, but they have access to it. The rest of the world is catching on. Us in the United States, we got it good. We kind of spoiled, right? But it's very beneficial for us as well. Because where does that 3% go? If they charge you an extra 3% to get over those fees, where does that 3% go when they stop charging that? Most people say in my own pocket, but I'm going to say it goes in the employees' pockets. In most owners' cases, it goes in the owner's pocket. But you would hope that money would go back to the employees. You would hope that money would go back to the consumer. You would hope that if we can cut down the fees, if we can cut down the fraud, if we can cut down all of these things, that money will help out our economy. That's what Bitcoin can do. And it's not perfect. I'm going to sit here and tell you right now, don't invest in Bitcoin. Don't. Until you know more about it. I'm serious. Don't put a dollar, a cent, a penny, nothing in Bitcoin until you know more about it. That's why I'm glad you guys came today. Because this is the first step. You got to get your education. And if you're like me, you might go crazy and keep reading stuff about it for 6 months so you can learn more and more about it. And I'm hoping, like, the hardest part is just trying to explain it to people. But I hope that transaction that I was doing with Christelle and Luke kind of helped you guys understand why it works. Because what you have to know is that if you can be free, why not be free? If you can be free, why not be free? If you have an opportunity to control your own destiny, so to speak, why not do it? Why not get out of the whole situation where you have all of these government bodies basically deflating your money, making my money worse every single day by printing more and more dollars. Look at our debt. Look at the debt we have. They print money just to pay the debt off. Just get out of debt. Quit printing the money up, figure out how to stop spending like we do, and get out of debt. The thing is that there has never been a time like now. Because credit cards were not made for the internet. At all. Credit cards were not made for the internet. They weren't. We're in a digital age. The same way in medieval times when the king used to take all the books and everything, put it up in the library, and the peasants couldn't read. Those times are gone, right? Information is free. We can get it. So why not let finances be free as well? Why are finances not free? Why can't we move money back and forth? Why can't somebody come into my bank account, my hard-earned money, and freeze it? Why can PayPal hold my cash? Why can PayPal say, oh, I don't know about that transaction? And my business is just getting better. I'm making more and more sales, and then they just stop it and say, no, hold on, I got to check to make sure you're doing good business. What's that do to me? They don't care about me. They care about a lawsuit. They care about all this other stuff. They don't care about me as a free being, somebody who can make their own decisions. That's what Bitcoin did for me. Like it really opened my mind up. It really did. It made me start seeing that we don't have to be, I keep seeing people talking about the 1% and the 99%, and it trips me out because it's the same dilemma I had when I always think about slavery. Like I think about slavery and I go, man, there's 100,000 people, 20,000 slaves on a plantation, and there's 4 guys on horses. All the 20,000 got to do is get together. I mean, seriously. And we laugh, but guess what? We dealing with the same thing. We talk about, oh, the 1%, they hurting us and we don't have it and I can't stand them, but we the 99. And somebody here might be the 1%, I'm sorry. But no, we are the 99. We have just as much power if we come together. That's the big part of it. Like we have to come together. And the way you can come together is by realizing that you have power in purchasing. So I'm going to share this idea, and it's not complete, and I've talked to a few people about it, and this is what we're going to do. So Leif and I, we're starting a company that builds applications, and today we have a Bitcoin wallet. And guess what we're calling it? Fever. We didn't lose the name. We kept it. It's the Fever wallet, okay? Now this wallet is a very easy to use, simple Bitcoin wallet. And if I use the people at the Cincinnati meetup, they liked it. So I'm going to say that it's the best wallet in the world. Just because Andy Schroeder and those guys said it was good. It's a great, easy to use wallet. Why? Because I want to make it accessible. Not for the guys that I usually talk to on a daily basis, my geek friends. I want to make it accessible to my mom. I want my mom to be able to take a Bitcoin wallet and go buy something somewhere really, really easy. So that's one part of it. That's not the big idea. The big idea is this wallet, it's going to be in a corporation, but on the back end of it, and that owns a part of the corporation, will be a co-op. And this co-op will let anybody that owns the wallet be a part of it. every single person who owns the wallet will be a part of the corporation because of the co-op. That's a whole different way of thinking. I talked to a lawyer about it. He was like, why would you want to give money back to the co-op? Why are you giving some of your profits away? And I started thinking to myself, yeah, you deal with capitalists every single day. This is a new age, a new day, a new type of capitalist. I call it potluck corporation. Everybody brings something to the table and everybody eats. Because the days of all of us taking this profit and keeping it to ourselves and trying to build the biggest business for ourselves, that stuff's over. We have the means, we have the tools, we have the communication to become democratic in everything that we do. We can give back, and it don't take a lot. It don't take a lot. We're going to create a co-op that allows every single person, I don't care if they're in China, Mexico, Zimbabwe, if they have our wallet, they're part of the co-op. And so then how do they get paid, Lamar? How are they going to get money from this? Well, it's called the network effect. And anybody know what the network effect is? The network effect is when each node in the network makes the other nodes more valuable as they come in. So it's like a telephone. Telephone's only good when you got more people using the telephone. If it's just one-to-one person, telephone, I just keep calling Christelle. Hey, Christelle, what's going on? But as soon as Christelle lets Ken in, it's like, hey, Christelle, hey, Ken. Oh, I can call Ken now. And when Ken lets somebody else in, then the network begins to grow, and the value of the network grows as each person grows. So as this wallet gets out there to each individual person, what happens? All of a sudden, this wallet that we have, this wallet has ad space, right? Ad space is valuable. Ad space is like, think about it, CBS and NBC, those guys been around for a long time on ad space. But guess what? They're not giving you any of it. They're not giving, I'm sorry, WKYT, I'm sorry. They're not giving you any of it. They're not giving it back to you. They're allowing people to advertise to you. They're taking the money and doing what they're going to do with it. But what if people advertise to you and a piece of the advertisement came back to you? Wouldn't you be more likely to spend money with those companies? So then here's the thing. If you're more likely to spend money with those companies, they're probably more likely to do what again? Advertise to you more. Right? So if they keep advertising you, you get money and you put it back in, what winds up happening to that circulation of that dollar? Or that Bitcoin? What happens? It builds value within the cooperative as a whole. Like, I don't know if anybody has ever thought about it from this level. And I've talked to a million lawyers, and Will Montague, thank you very much. He's a lawyer. He's a good lawyer. But I talked to a lot of them, and they all like, Lamar, what is this? And the one, like I said, the one lawyer, he was more like, why are you trying to give back? It wasn't him, though. It wasn't him. But the one lawyer was like, Lamar, you're just making things too complicated. Why are you trying to give back? You probably have a great wallet. Just keep it. And no, that's not what I'm about. I love a potluck. Who don't love a potluck? There might be some aunts that can't make macaroni and cheese, but the rest of the stuff is delicious. But that's serious. Like, we are at that point right now that we have that kind of freedom. We are allowed to go out and give back to everybody who uses our application. And here's the thing about it. Every person that a person brings on, so think about this. Now, I'm going to say it out loud because I want y'all to ask me questions about that as well so I can get the idea formalized better. So next week when I go file out for the co-op, I'll know what I'm doing. Okay? So here's the idea. So the idea is you get the wallet and you get what's called patronage points. Okay? Because everybody who knows co-ops is patronage refund. You get a patronage refund. You get patronage points just for joining because it's a marketing co-op. You join. So if you go get Christelle on, I'm going to give you another patronage point and give her one for joining. Because you just added value to the network. And as she gets somebody, and as she gets somebody, and as you keep doing it, you gain patronage points just for telling somebody, look, man, here's this wallet. And you got to pay a membership, of course, because that's how co-ops work. But it's going to be cheap as heck. I'm talking about $5 right now. If I told you today that you could get a part of a company for $5, an early startup for $5, what would you say? Take my money. That's what I'm saying. But the funny thing is that usually in situations of startups, who invests the money? Sorry about that, Sean. I'm attacking everybody today. Sean O'Leary invests money. Who usually invests the money? It's usually the people in the 1%. They're the only ones that have early access. They're the ones that get the real gains. Those people are the ones that get the real, they're the ones that get the 20 times, 30 times back on their money. We don't get the money until it gets to retail. Think about that. When it's selling on the stock market, then we get to go play around. Now we get to go speculate. The real money happened way before that, and everybody knows that who has ever invested in a business. The real return happened before that. So why not bring all of you all on for helping us out early? Why not bring you all on early? And the reason why we did the co-op and corporation, because a co-op cannot go public, but a corporation can. And if the co-op owns a piece of the corporation, all of a sudden the co-op becomes our VC. And when you're talking about 10 times, 20 times your money back, the co-op can get that now. And I'm not saying we're not going to take VC, because if we do take VC and everybody's on, think about it. Your value just went up again. All I'm talking about is being able to give back to the same people that help you get where you are. If Walmart gave you money every single time you bought, you would go to Walmart more. Some of you go too much now. Where's my wife? She left. Yeah, she knew I was going to say that. Here's the thing. The great thing about Bitcoin is it's like Visa. Think about if you was able to own Visa at the very beginning. At the very, very beginning, everybody was able to own a piece of Visa. They gave you money every single time you made a purchase. Wouldn't you use Visa all the time? MasterCard wouldn't even be in your wallet. Am I right? Because you're getting it back. And you know you're going to get it back. And so what happens when you go to the store? You walk to the store with your Visa, and they say, oh, we don't take Visa here. And you look at them and say, well, you need to take Visa. And the next person come in, you need to take Visa. Next time you walk in that store, what they going to take? Visa. And so they start taking Visa, so you just basically added value just by saying you need to take Visa. And you are benefiting from that. The billions of dollars that Visa makes every single year can be coming right back into the pockets of the people who use it. And instead of all of the money being a magnet to the top and the gap getting wider, we start evening out the plane. And it ain't also no socialist stuff where we just giving people stuff. You helping. You doing your part. You marketing. We're not just giving it away. We're not just saying, here you go. I don't mind that either. I give away to anybody. But I'm saying everybody don't have to be on the giving thing. Just give a little bit of your time. Give a little bit of your efforts to bring somebody on. Go get a merchant on. That's what we're talking about. A whole different mindset when it comes to capitalism. A whole completely different mindset. It's potluck capitalism. And I'm saying it today. That's my statement. Potluck capitalism. I'm going to have to write that down somewhere. Put a Wikipedia page up or something. I got copyrighted. See, I hope people understand that I don't care about copywriting because it's the people's, right? I'm not trying to hold on to potluck capitalism. I want everybody to talk about potluck capitalism. If everybody started thinking about the people around them, then I think it'll be a little bit better. And that's what Bitcoin allows you to do quickly with finances. Because we know that's what makes this world go around. Whether we like it or not. I like to say love makes the world go around. Love. That's where potluck comes from, is love. But we know that capitalism is money. And if I can put some more money in everybody's pocket all together and we all eat at the table and everybody's full and rubbing their belly and going to sleep watching a football game, that's what I want.
So would other co-ops spring up and compete against each other?
Probably. For sure. They definitely would. Why wouldn't they? The competition is not what you're worrying about here. You're not worrying about the competition of the other co-ops because guess what? You can go get in that co-op too. And one day you use this one, the next day you use that one. But still, it's still doing this. Do you understand what I'm saying? To me, it's not about self no more. It's not about trying to get as much as you can for yourself. And I think that's what Bitcoin opened up to me. It was like, I can move this money from here to here, transfer money to this person, go buy gas on the side of the road in Fort Mitchell, Kentucky off a truck. Think about that. Think about riding down the road, you run out of gas and you don't have to walk 3 miles to go get the gas. You just call up Andy. Andy, man, I need some gas, buddy. Drive, fill up, go. Got the wallet, everything works. I don't have to worry about anything but a cell connection. That stuff is powerful, man. It's the future. And even if Bitcoin don't make it, like if Bitcoin falls apart, There will be another Bitcoin in its place. Matter of fact, there's a bunch of altcoins. You got Litecoin, Feathercoin, Kanye West, which, yeah, it just got sued. It got sued and had to take it down. Doggy Coin. Like there are other virtual currencies out there, and this thing ain't stopping. Bitcoin could fall apart tomorrow and it would still be an invention. It's like trying to say that the wheel's finished because you found something to put on a tank. Like you found tread to put on a tank. Wheels are still around because the wheels are in the tread. Lamar, that was stupid. But you know what I'm saying. But you guys know what I'm saying. Bitcoin's not going anywhere. What I'm saying is that Bitcoin's not going anywhere. Cryptocurrencies are not going anywhere. The invention has been made. The world knows about it. The invention is here. It's not going anywhere. People are just going to build on top of it. There's certain layers that people are building right now, like Color Coin, Mastercoin. They're building layers on top of this protocol that is Bitcoin. It's the same thing with like SMTP and ACTP that was built on top of TCP/IP and IP4. You understand what I'm saying? This stuff is built like this. Y'all don't? Yeah, some people know. Okay, SMTP is what you send email over. Okay? TCP/IP is the bottom, and then you send stuff over top of that, basically. So that protocol just makes the rules for everything else to work. So Bitcoin are the rules, and you can build things on top of those rules because you know that the rules are going to stay the same because it's programmed that way. And you can trust it because it's like that. So I guess I'm finished, and I'm going to let the lawyer come up, and he's probably going to say, kill Lamar, but it's fine. No, I'm just kidding. I love that guy. But listen, I'm just trying to introduce a new idea with Bitcoin. Is it a revolution or craze? It can be a revolution. It can. And right now it is crazy. It is. I'm not going to lie to you. Somebody called me today and said, should I invest my money into it? And I was like, just come on to the seminar. I'm not going to tell you to invest in anything until you know more about it. But it wouldn't hurt you to get $5 and put it on Bitcoin and just see what happens. I gave my mom $50 for Christmas of Bitcoin, and you think it's the best thing in the world. Every time the price goes up. Oh, I got $60. Oh, I got $70. Do you see what I'm saying? Just put $5. You can buy $5 worth of Bitcoin. You can buy $1 worth of Bitcoin. Matter of fact, I'll sell it to you today. I'll give you a dollar worth of Bitcoin today, not a Bitcoin. That's what Randall's trying to do. So I'm going to let the lawyer speak, and then we'll have question and answer. Hope you got some good questions. Hopefully I've got you to see something. So there you go.
Our next speaker is going to be Jim Francis. Jim's with the Francis, I guess get it on. Jim's with the Francis Law Office and patent attorney, trademark attorney. We've worked with Jim a lot over the years. He's usually kind enough to give us quite a bit of his time for free. So, Jim, thanks for coming.
All right. Okay, we had the entertainment, and just like those videos you see on MTV and everywhere else, there's always an attorney disclaimer at the end. We're always the downside. Will can attest to that. We're very risk averse. Will and I go back a way. We actually had some cases against each other in the past. Will is a phenomenal IP attorney. I highly recommend him as well. But you remember the video you saw at the very beginning where they went around asking people what's a Bitcoin? Okay, you're going to get that same response with different regulatory agencies, different central banks. No one can put their hands around at this moment. It's really kind of ambiguous. It's fluid. If you say approach the SEC, they're going to essentially say that it's akin to a stock. It's subject to speculation. If you approach, say, the central bank, Federal Reserve, or the IMF, they're going to tell you it's akin to a currency, but also subject to speculation. That's why the price keeps going up and down. It's fairly volatile. And that's why there's a lot of effort right now being placed on finding a way to regulate this. All governments are good at one thing and one thing only, regulating the hell out of things. They will control it, they will manipulate it, and they will use it to their advantage. At this point, they can't do that with Bitcoin. They're trying to find a way to do that. Governments have done it. The U.S., China, and India are currently, if you consider antagonistic stances to Bitcoin as repressive, those three countries are probably the single most repressive countries out there right now. There are some very friendly ones like Canada and Germany that have embraced it, but they're all suffering from the same thing. They don't know what to do with it. Is it an asset? Well, it for the most part, it is an asset. Can you tax it? Well, yes, the IRS, yeah, you can tax it. You can tax anything. But very clearly, it's difficult to get your hands around how to tax it, what regulations it falls under. Recently, we had a new regulation promulgated by the Federal Election Commission. Basically, there was I think a rather large donation made to a candidate, I think a couple of years ago, at the very onset of Bitcoin, and there was speculation, is this a donation in money? Is it a donation in some other form of asset? How do we regulate this? So we're seeing these things pop up all over the place. It's really starting to spin out of control to some degree. And as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of digital currencies out there. Currently, I think, at last count, there are about 35 different digital currencies. Which ones are going to survive, which ones aren't, it's really speculative at this point. So, is the microphone not on?
Just get Speak up.
Speak up? Okay. So, we're kind of at the very beginning of this thing, and regulation has been a little bit of a nightmare so far. A lot of you probably saw where China actually prohibited transfers of Bitcoin into Chinese currency. The U.S. is, one of the countries considering doing the very same thing. A lot of countries track the flow of currency. They track where it goes, who sent it, how it was sent. Bitcoin kind of disables that safety net that they have, whether with the Patriot Act or with the Bank Secrecy Act. So what to do with it, how to regulate it, it's just an ongoing issue. There are a lot of issues with, if I am a Bitcoin exchanger, am I considered a money exchanger or administrator under certain financial laws? Am I subject to regulation? Do I have to register? California, I think last year recently went in and actually seized several Bitcoin exchanges, actually took over the assets and filed criminal charges against the people operating the exchanges. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to give me a drink real quick, but thanks. So there's a lot of liability, a lot of risk. A lot of countries are worried that if they can't control it and they can't regulate it, what happens if an exchange goes down? What happens to the money? What happens if people are essentially taken advantage of? So they do have some legitimate concerns. There's been some movement lately to actually get the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, to come in and attempt to regulate Bitcoin like they do other currencies. The IMF essentially is a collector of currencies, and they, for lack of a better way to explain it, they prevent speculation in currency, prevent a lot of volatility by manipulating the flow of, say, pounds into dollars, so that things don't get out of whack. And for those of you, I guess, a little older, back from the 90s, you remember the trend back then was a lot of heavy speculation in high-tech stock. A lot of people took short positions. I was one of them, unfortunately. But we took short positions and we essentially gambled. We assumed that the stock market was going to continue to rise the same way people are speculating Bitcoin's going to continue to rise. But when you take a short position, typically you don't do it with your own money. You do it with somebody else's to some extent. And what winds up happening is you're essentially borrowing on the hope it's going to go up. So if it goes up, you pay back what you've borrowed, everybody's happy. But if it falls, it can fall pretty precipitously, and you can actually lose more than you actually invested. That's what happened to a lot of people in the 90s with the high-tech stock craze. So they do want to prevent that kind of thing from happening again. And there are a lot of, as he mentioned, criminal activities that use these digital currencies as a means to avoid having the transaction traced, essentially money laundering, which is another issue. But beyond that, beyond the criminal aspects, beyond financial regulation, you also get into a lot of issues with privacy as well. Bitcoin is claimed to be private. That's true to an extent. Nothing's completely private. One of the big issues with Bitcoin is that current research shows that because it's a public transaction, it's on a public ledger, you could potentially mine down to the individual user through the public ledger, through these public keys that become available, and even the private keys. It's become such a concern. Have anybody here heard of ZeroCoin? Okay. ZeroCoin is an effort that was launched by Johns Hopkins University to add an additional layer of anonymity on top of Bitcoin. Here's another term, I don't know if anybody's heard of it, a Bitcoin laundry. Have you heard of a Bitcoin laundry? Okay. A Bitcoin laundry essentially accumulates Bitcoins, and for lack of a better way of putting it, it scrubs the user data. It attempts to amass a lot of Bitcoins from a lot of different individuals to essentially destroy any user identification that might be associated with any keys associated with each individual Bitcoin. ZeroCoin is similar to a Bitcoin laundry. Bitcoin laundry is a centralized unit, and you have to trust that Bitcoin laundry and hope that it's not somebody in Moscow that's trying to accumulate Bitcoins and all of a sudden, hey, Bitcoin laundry disappears overnight, and so did 1 million Bitcoins. ZeroCoin gets embedded into the Bitcoin system itself, essentially rides atop the nodes, and it's kind of like a mobile laundry. Again, this raises even more concerns with government agencies because they had a hard enough time tracking transactions with Bitcoin. How are they going to do it with ZeroCoin? Everybody's familiar with the Patriot Act. I remember the days where to cash a check, you just walked in, you signed the back of the check, you handed it to the teller, and she gave you your money. Now you can't do that without some form of tax ID number because the IRS wants to make sure that you're not cashing a check that's supposed to go to your business, or you're not reporting it on your taxes at the end of the year. Again, it's a regulatory scheme. It's also a protection scheme. It's got several different aspects to it. But ZeroCoin, and I'm sure there are going to be different algorithms after that, they're going to make this increasingly more difficult. So how do you deal with it? And that's what they're currently struggling with. Like I said, they're looking at IMF regulation as one way of doing it. One proposition is to have member states like the U.S., Canada, Russia actually go in and with their own currency buy massive amounts of Bitcoin. From that point, they transfer it into the IMF, who can then store Bitcoin and essentially try to regulate speculation and regulate the flow of Bitcoin to other currencies. Another proposition out there is to actually invite or even force Bitcoin or other digital currencies under some regulatory scheme of the IMF. I don't think that's likely to happen. I think the first one would be easier. It fits under the regulatory scheme a little bit better. But essentially, it's a matter of time before they do regulate it. It's a matter of time before you do to some degree lose some anonymity. As algorithms improve, as Bitcoin improves, computing power improves. People speculate what the big computing center that NSA is building, I think it's out in Utah, what it's going to be able to do. I wouldn't be surprised if it couldn't handle breaking these public ledgers and mining down to individual users. With the right amount of computing power, you can do it. So, there's a lot of issues. It would take about a week to go through all the different issues with all the different agencies and the different banks. It's just incredibly complex at this point. But, back to the U.S. for a minute. How does the U.S. treat Bitcoin? Again, it's kind of an ambiguous, free-flowing thing. Currently, it's treated as an asset, but it's treated more like intellectual property than it is currency or any kind of commodity. So, currently that's the best fit they can come up with at the moment. I would anticipate before long, Congress has a great way of messing with things at work, and intellectual property is a great example, and Will can attest to that. Anytime Congress touches any intellectual property statute, they screw it up. Anytime the Supreme Court touches it, they screw it up. They can really destroy a good system. But again, it's wide open. It's kind of the Wild West right now. We don't know where it's going to go. I do see Bitcoin becoming more institutionalized, more corporate. Not necessarily Bitcoin, but digital currency, period. I don't know how many of you pay attention to the patent world, but JP Morgan recently had their own patent application published, which covers a Bitcoin-like network. It's more of a centralized system than Bitcoin, where Bitcoin is distributed. But kind of what I'm seeing here is with JP Morgan and other financial institutions starting to look at this as potentially proprietary in nature. I think what you're eventually going to see is within certain jurisdictions, say the U.S., they will adopt one form of digital currency, period. Other transfers are going to be illegal, or they're going to just tax the hell out of it. But this is probably the start of an onslaught of a lot of Bitcoin-related patents. I think, sooner than later, someone's going to convince Congress to adopt one form over the other. It's kind of like the old VHS versus Beta thing. Beta was better, but VHS marketed the hell out of it. They lobbied, they pressured, and VHS became the standard, even though it wasn't as good. The same thing's probably going to happen with digital currencies. It's a matter of time. It's a matter of who's got the pull, who's got the leverage, and who can lobby Congress better than the other guy. So, I'll probably stop here in a second. Legal topics tend to be a little dry, but it's a wide open field. There's no good answer for anything.
You want to open it up now for about 5 minutes worth of Q&A?
Yeah.
All right. You guys have any questions? This guy would be happy to answer all of them.
No, you can sit right there. I sit right here and we can
All right.
answer whatever questions. That'd be awesome.
I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was looking at some information on the internet, and one of the things that this gentleman was talking about was that right now Bitcoin was at a certain capacity in terms of it being its storage capacity, but that at some point it could reach a limit in terms of storage. Do you know anything about
So
that?
what you're probably talking about is right now there's about 12 million Bitcoins that have been issued out, and those Bitcoins get issued out to those miners that mine the blocks and figure out the proof and do the proof of work. And so that does have a cap at 21 million. That's what I was talking about earlier. So yeah, it does have a cap. And a lot of people, they talk about that as if, there won't be enough for everybody. But the great thing about it is you can just move, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
You can just move the decimal place. I think I turned
G
it
to put
I muted it. I think you could just move the decimal place. Right now it goes out 8 decimals, 8 decimal places. So a Satoshi is worth about 1 Satoshi, which is cool that they named the smallest unit a Satoshi, is about 100 million. There's 100 million Satoshis in 1 Bitcoin. So, I mean, there's ways in the protocol to just move the decimal place out so that you can have more. It's not going to create more, but it'll just allow you to split it even more. It's like being able to take a block of gold and file it down to a chip, you know?
And just one last.
Yeah.
So is it necessary with Bitcoin, is it just, Bitcoin is just a transaction amongst different people? Is it also a transaction with, well, it is a transaction with other businesses? Is there, how significant is the establishment of other businesses in the connection?
So right now, probably the largest retailer that accepts Bitcoin is Overstock.com. They accept it, and also today I just found out, or yesterday I found out that the Sacramento Kings are accepting Bitcoin. And I remember when the new guy bought the Sacramento Kings, he was saying that he's going to have the first cashless arena. So I think Bitcoin kind of fits in his idea of having this cashless arena. So those are 2 nice sized organizations that now accept Bitcoin, and probably the most important organization that accept Bitcoins is 212s. So we accept Bitcoin for services as well. Yeah.
Lamar, you might want to explain how merchants can accept Bitcoin.
Yeah, what are the mechanics? So the guy went out and bought gas. What would have to happen beforehand, and what happens after?
So first you have to get Bitcoin. And these are questions I knew I wasn't going to answer because I get so passionate about freedom. So you have to get the Bitcoin. And where do you get Bitcoins? You can buy some from me. I'm not selling a lot, but I will sell you some. You can get them from being a part of a cooperative that gives Bitcoins back as payment.
Tell me the mechanics.
If you buy them from me, so okay, let me go. So then you can buy them probably the easiest place in America to get them, outside of getting them on the street, like from somebody who has them, is Coinbase. You can actually hook your bank account up, ACH in money, and get Bitcoin from Coinbase. So once you get it, you'll buy them from me with just cash. I can transfer them to your wallet. It's just like with cash, right? Like if I had another currency like a euro, you would give me dollars and I'll give you euros back.
Where's my wallet?
Okay, so man, I don't have it with me. Leif has it on the phone. We'll show it here in a minute, but basically the wallet, once again, is just a hash. It's a long 36? Like, is it 36? Andy, you know what the number is? I'm trying to get rid of addresses. That's what our wallet does. It gets rid of addresses. I don't know the exact number either, but it's a string. And so basically, you're signing with your key that I'm signing with my key that I'm giving it to you. So I'm telling the ledger, give these to Ken. So now Ken has them. You have the ability to use them however you want. Split them up into little pieces and give them to everybody or whatever. So once you have them, then you go.
How do I know I have them?
You know you have them because they're on the blockchain. Yeah. Andy can show you an app. Leif has our app on his phone, and I can show you guys that in a minute. Yeah.
So I don't know if you Bitcoin's from Coinbase. I bought it on Coinbase.
Yeah.
Is there an advantage or disadvantage to leaving them on there or having a
cold storage
on my own computers?
Okay, so wallets. This is what Bitcoin 101 probably should have been. Like this question to answer, because wallets. Where can you have wallets? So you can have a wallet on your device, or you can run what is called a hosted wallet. That's what Coinbase allows you to have. You don't get any of your keys. You don't have any control really outside of going to Coinbase and sending it out of Coinbase. They run the wallet. Then you have things that are kind of like a hybrid. Our wallet's more of a hybrid. We just host your encrypted keys, so we never see what your keys are. We never know your password. You encrypt it on your client and then send the encrypted key to us, so we don't ever see it. So at any point, you can push a button and get your Bitcoins off of your wallet. And actually, our wallet is more what's called a hot wallet. So a hot wallet would be like your real wallet. Like you don't put $20,000 in your wallet unless you're Money Mayweather, right? You don't walk around with bags of money unless you like a boxer. So you would have what's called a hot wallet, which would be your regular wallet. And then you would have what's called a cold storage wallet, which you would protect even more, that most people print them out on a piece of paper. Like, that's crazy. You can print a wallet out on a piece of paper, but you can literally print your private keys on the paper, and then that'll be how you store it. Yeah.
One thing you guys need to keep in mind too, though, is there have been numerous instances where computers have been hacked, bitcoins have been stolen. The last one I heard about was about $9 million worth of Bitcoin that was gone in a heartbeat.
Right.
There's no way to get it back. So computer security, if you're going to dabble in Bitcoin, is even more important than it ever has been before.
And computers aren't secure, so print it on a piece of paper. Because the thing is that we don't have a lot of knowledge about computer security, but we have a lot of knowledge about physical security. I mean, people have been protecting stuff forever. So if you can, print you some on some paper. Leif and I are trying to come up with a cold storage system that's kind of a hybrid as well. That'll be mostly paper, but you'll be able to do some things with it within our app. So that's what I would advise. If you have a lot of Bitcoin, store it on paper. Print out your private keys. Make sure the computer that you print your private keys on is not connected to the internet. There's a lot of technical things, and that's the reason why I'm trying to provide services, because I understand those technical things, and I can help people understand them better and help them get on paper wallets and things like that. But I wouldn't, if you got over, I don't know what your risk tolerance is, but if you got over a certain amount, I would keep them on paper, keep them locked away. Make sure, is this your wife? Your girlfriend? Okay. Make sure you make her your wife, man. Make sure that you give her passcodes and those, like, people, family members. So if you die, you don't lose all your wealth. To, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
What happened to that hard drive that got thrown away on accident in England? What happens to that money? Is it gone forever?
Okay, so that's the thing about Bitcoins. It's like cash. If I walk my cash out the door and lay it in the street and walk away, somebody else can walk by and pick it up and it's gone forever. So that guy, unless he finds his, so there's a treasure hunt going on. This guy threw his computer in a landfill and, like, basically threw his computer away. And he remembered that, I got $6 million worth of Bitcoin on there. Because when he probably threw it away, it wasn't worth that. Like, there's a story, the famous story of the 10,000 Bitcoin pizza, right? Early on, there was a bunch of guys just sending money around because it was fun, right? That's fun for me too. That's why I like that. I'm not sending y'all none, but you know what I'm saying. So some guy sent $10,000 to a guy to order a pizza. 10,000 Bitcoin to a guy to order a pizza. Well, now Bitcoin's about $842 a piece. So
it was 782 about half an hour ago.
Okay, 782. Well, it dropped while we've been in here because they knew the lawyer was coming and he was gonna sell it. So, yeah.
I've got to go deal with 1%.
Right.
Tell me the transaction to go from Bitcoin to
dollars,
currency or any other.
Okay. So once again, the same way you can sell on the street. Usually, when I say the street, it makes it sound real shady, but I just mean one-to-one, like person to person. You can find there's a site called Local Bitcoins that lets you publish all around the world where you are with Bitcoins. So you can sell on the street, quote unquote, and get cash that way, or you can go to Coinbase and cash out that way. The thing about Coinbase is because they're trying to do the whole know your customer, anti-money laundering laws and all of that. You have to verify out the wazoo. So you pretty much got to send them a child, and they'll take like a swab in the mouth of the child. No, but you have to do a lot to verify there, but you can get the money back out. And actually, BitPay announced a couple of days ago. BitPay is like the PayPal of Bitcoin. They announced a couple days ago that you'll be able to pay payroll. And to me, to be honest, I think right now there's a lot of speculation because there's not a lot out there in the market. So when you get it, you're looking at it like, I've spent this money for it. But for me, I've been telling people I probably will not buy another Bitcoin. I will accept it as payment. I will sell things for it, but I probably will not buy another Bitcoin because when I buy a Bitcoin, that just adds to the whole speculative market, right? It just basically is adding to the fact that now I'm looking at my money and going, man, this money compared to this Bitcoin, I need to hold on to it. It looks like it's going up, it's going down, and I sell real quick when people sell off. Well, for me, I have the Bitcoin I have, and then when I earn some more, I will, because I think it will only get to a currency when people start accepting their payroll in it. You see what I'm saying? Because for me, when I get paid in it, at that moment, I got to spend it on food. You know what I mean? Like I got 3 kids. I got a wife who likes to shop at Walmart. So it's like I gotta spend that money. I have to spend it when I get it in. I can't just hold on to it. I can't just like use it as an investment and hold on to it for the long term. So that will make me, it'll force me basically to put the money into circulation, put the Bitcoin in circulation. So that's just me. I probably won't buy anymore, but I'll make some more. And I'll save some of what I get. But at the same time, I want to be able to start using it on a daily basis because, you know, I want to practice what I preach, basically. Yeah.
Two real quick. One is, does Bitcoin need China?
Nope. I don't believe Bitcoin needs China. I don't. To be honest, I don't think Bitcoin even needs the United States. And that's real. I mean, the thing that you'll keep hearing from the media, and of course from lawyers because they don't want to come back and get sued, is fear. Like, they will fear you to death. Literally. You will be so afraid that you won't do anything, and you'll think, oh, it needs China or it needs this. No, Bitcoin doesn't need it. It's an invention. Does the internet need China? We found out it really doesn't. Right? China doesn't allow a lot of the sites that we use on a daily basis to even run over there. And last time I checked, the internet is doing pretty good. Google's doing okay without China. Facebook too. You see what I'm saying? So I don't really think Bitcoin is an invention. That's what you all have to realize. It's a invention that finally allowed a consensus of a ledger across a network, a massively distributed network where everybody can agree.
It's
right?
almost exactly the same thing for finances as the internet.
The internet, exactly. It's the internet of money. That's, if you
Don't
want to
forget, in China, they can still use Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right, but they can't.
They can't exchange it, but you're talking about a manipulated currency anyway.
Yeah, they manipulate theirs. You can't even really get the renminbi out of China. Here's the thing, though. This is what's so funny. Once everyone uses Bitcoin, then why do you care if it needs to be changed for the dollar?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? That's the thing. So it's like, even in the United States, unless they say you can't use it, period, which they probably won't because they think it's just funny money for those crazy gold bug almost people, right? So they probably won't say you can't use it, but what happens is that gives us the power to begin to use it amongst ourselves. And then if we never had, like I said, if I get paid in Bitcoin and I use Bitcoin to go buy things, then I don't need to touch the dollar again. I never need to touch it again. I just use Bitcoin.
Now the second question is with your co-op, with your startup.
Yeah.
Are you all looking at a tiered, like for corporate entities coming in?
Yeah. So for the corporate part, for the co-op part, you literally have to earn your way.
I'm
So,
saying for,
yeah.
like for my business, if we wanted to come in
And invest?
Exactly.
Oh, so that's in the corporation side. That's not even dealing. The co-op's just going to automatically have a sliver of the corporation. The corporation just runs like a corporation. We'll have shares. We'll make sure we issue those and all of that. But the co-op will own shares in the corporation.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So, question? Yes, ma'am. Hold on. You look beautiful today. All right. Go ahead.
I was wondering, with the co-op, I know we're concentrating on Bitcoin, but it's not the only digital currency out there right now.
Right.
So, do you think that, I have two questions, do you think that it's going to be Bitcoin, or that Bitcoin is basically the foundation for what will happen in the next 10, 15 years? And number two is, will you not only accept Bitcoin, but will you also accept Feathercoin?
Or Litecoin. So, who knows if Bitcoin's going to win? I don't know. I don't know if Bitcoin's going to win. I think that right now it's very difficult for it to lose. So put it that way. I mean, but the Titanic sank, right? I mean, the Patriots lost in the Super Bowl. I mean, stuff happens. But right now, based on the network effect and the amount of nodes that are dealing in Bitcoin and the amount of money that people have invested. I mean, there are hundreds of millions of dollars that VC has put into Bitcoin. So if something fails, believe me, they're going to put some money in to make sure that that thing keeps going. I think that at this point right now, I don't think there's too many external forces that can kill Bitcoin. I think maybe a bug in the Bitcoin code that we haven't found yet because we haven't got to a certain level, that might kill it. But other than that, I mean, I don't see Bitcoin going away. And then, will I accept Litecoin? Yeah, I accept Litecoin. Will I accept Feathercoin? Yeah, I accept Feathercoin. Not as much as I accept Bitcoin, because Bitcoin, when I need to go buy something, there are more places for me to go buy something, like me to buy food or whatever. I can go, right now with Bitcoin, I can take my Bitcoin and buy a gift card to Walmart, and then you can get whatever. And I don't want to buy a gift card to Walmart, so I'm trying to get a couple Commonwealth and these guys in town on Bitcoin so I can go buy from them. Okay.
About viruses.
So viruses. Let's see. So what do you mean by a virus?
It's
Like,
a big long string. I don't know how a virus could.
Yeah, because it's just a hash. It's just a string.
Yeah,
So are you
Maybe
saying
there's
can somebody
something
hack it? You saying can somebody hack Bitcoin?
just a program.
Yeah, people. I see. Yeah, people.
Carried along with it. That
That's carried along with. But see, it's open source, so the network itself has their value is distinguished upon that code. So nobody's gonna let that code get messed up. So to get stuff into Bitcoin, into the protocol, it takes a lot of votes. And everybody has to agree, because you don't want to break the foundation. And yes, it needs to be fixed and all of that stuff needs to happen to it. Because like even with the zero coin, there are people who are putting in requests to make it more anonymous, right, on the protocol itself. But a virus, when you're talking about a virus, you're just talking about people hacking the computer. Yes, that's going to happen. There's actually a virus that went to somebody's computer, and it pops up a screen that says, until you pay in Bitcoin, we will not let you do anything on your computer. So they were like holding everybody's computer at ransom with Bitcoin. And seriously, and they were getting Bitcoin for it because they weren't going to release your computer until you did it. So my advice for you or anybody else is try to do as much as you can on a Mac. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
One complex question. I don't know how well it'll be answered, but so there's speculation that because of limited supply, people are going to want to tend to hoard them.
Yep.
And also that the lost coin. So if it just goes out of circulation, so all these things will kind of make it the value increase of the currency,
Right.
but then it may feed into a deflationary spiral and then kind of devalue our goods compared to the currency.
Right.
The IMF.
I hear
play a
exactly
role
what
in
you're
this,
saying.
or
So
changing the decimal over, would either of those kind of write that?
That's why the IMF is trying to take.
That's why they're trying to do it. Because, but the thing is that I know exactly what you're talking about. Number one, you can lose coins. You forget your passcode, coins are gone. Like I said, it's like cash, right? Number one. Number two, there are a limited number of coins. But as we go on the protocol, they'll make provisions as need be, right? And some people, and this is political really, you either like a deflationary currency or you don't. So if it's deflationary, that means that it's worth more than the goods you buy. You understand what I'm saying? So people do tend to hoard things that are deflationary because they know tomorrow it's probably going to be worth more. So they'll hoard and hold on to it. And that's why I said, and truthfully, that's why a lot of people believe that it can get up to $100,000 of Bitcoin, because people that are getting into the market will inflate that price. So that's why I don't like using those numbers, because then people are like, oh, I can get in and it'll be 100,000 per Bitcoin. But that's still speculation. You don't know for sure. But based on mathematics, I mean, if more people try to get this asset that is not that many of it, you know that when demand outpaces supply, what happens to price, right? So, I mean, who knows what the future holds? But I know exactly what you're saying. It is a deflationary thing, because think about it. Like I was talking about with the Zimbabwean $10 trillion, or whatever it is. Like you can't inflate it to where that 10 trillion is only worth a cup of coffee. Because if it happened in America, we would lose it. There would be heads on stakes. It would be like Marie Antoinette let them eat cake all over again. Like seriously, you know what I mean? So, I mean, who knows? But it is deflationary. It is a deflationary currency.
But I wouldn't underestimate the ability of any government to come in and eventually find a way to regulate it.
Yeah.
Especially if a group of countries got together.
But they can't stop it. Like, the only way you can stop Bitcoin is cut the internet off. That's the truth. I mean, I'll sit here and say it all day long. The government cannot stop Bitcoin. It's the same way they can't stop the internet, they can't stop Bitcoin. They just can't. Unless they turn the internet off. At any point, and this is honest, at any point in time, I can get a hex and yell it over a telephone to somebody else, in another country, and they can push that transaction to the internet themselves. They can do it. So I can, even if United States says no Bitcoin transactions, you can't have any nodes over here or anything like that, I can get on the phone and say 04647 and go all the way through the hex, and that's my transaction, and I can send it over voice. If you can't stop the free flowing of information because of communication. You can't stop Bitcoin. And that's the same thing with BitTorrent. Think about it. Napster, they shut it down. Kazaa, they shut it down. BitTorrent.
But they did drastically increase the risk to the users.
No, the people own BitTorrent increased the risk to the users. The BitTorrent technology itself is still there, and that's the thing. And people are still BitTorrenting away. Somebody just got the Passion of the Christ yesterday. I mean, seriously.
But that's part of the issue again is that if you talk about what if this country does one thing if that country does another,
right?
You're talking about increasing volatility in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So it may be $800 today, it may be 36 cents tomorrow.
Right.
It's an incredibly volatile thing right now. When a couple of years ago, when that one guy got his computer hacked and $9 million disappeared, I think Bitcoin was $36 a Bitcoin. At that point, it dropped to a few cents.
Yep.
Almost immediately.
And it went to 100, and then 266, and then it went down to 100. The thing we have to realize right now is if you're looking at it as the price, that's why I don't pay attention to the price. That's why I'm not buying anymore, because I'm not worrying about speculating. If you look at the price, yes, it's going to move. What happened to the euro at the very beginning? Was the euro volatile? I mean, it's not going. It's the same thing. It's not going to change. Like the euro was volatile, Bitcoin's volatile. I mean, it's a brand new currency. It's just like people were so afraid of the internet at the beginning. It was pornographers and people doing shady deals and all of that on the internet. And now my mom uses Facebook. You see what I'm saying? So we're that early right now. Like we're at that point right now, and that's why I just wanted to educate people. I'm not telling you go buy Bitcoin. I said it 100 times. I just want to educate you about this technology right now while it's still really early, because they say in Kentucky we don't get things for 20 years. I mean, Mark Twain made a joke about us, and it's like, I mean, to me, it's very important for us to get this information out and let you do what you want with it. Like, go research it, go study it, go look up everything online. But letting the government stopping the internet, think how crazy that sounds to you. That's the same thing with Bitcoin. As more people get nodes on the network, they can't stop it. They can stop maybe the exchange, like you said, of us from Bitcoin to fiat currency. But if you say, I don't care about fiat currency, right? What do you do?
It's one of those things, if it ever gets to the point where it challenges conventional power structures enough.
Oh, yeah, they'll try to stop it.
They will try to stop it. And I, for one, I don't underestimate any government and their ability to do all kinds of things.
I don't fear them. In the camera, I don't fear them. Go ahead.
Going back to a more mundane kind of practical stuff, the big, to shift it away from speculation and more into a currency mode. More merchants have to accept it.
Right.
And what I was about to ask earlier is if you could explain to everybody how, for instance, Coinbase will allow a merchant like Overstock to accept Bitcoin,
right,
but not take on the risk of fluctuation because Overstock gets dollars.
Right.
Sells dollars.
So right now, a lot of the companies that are taking Bitcoin through BitPay, Coinbase, through payment processors, they're basically taking the Bitcoin and then immediately transferring it into fiat. So they're fiat is the dollar, the U.S. dollar. So they or whatever the fiat is for the country that they're in. Almost all these currencies are fiat. So they take Bitcoin in, and in the middle of the night they take the Bitcoin and then they transfer over dollars. So Overstock doesn't have any Bitcoin risk. It's immediate. It's pretty much an immediate transaction, right? But I listened to an interview from the CEO of Overstock, and they try to bring that up. So then why don't you hold Bitcoin? If you like Bitcoin, why don't you hold it? He's like, because right now, we don't pay our employees in it. I mean, we don't pay our suppliers. That's what he said. We don't pay our suppliers in it. He said, but if suppliers start taking Bitcoin, then we'll hold more of it to pay. And that's what I said. It becomes, so we have the network effect amongst the nodes, if you start getting suppliers that supply some of these companies to take Bitcoin, if they start taking Bitcoin, then all of a sudden you start getting that network effect going. And then the suppliers taking Bitcoin will all of a sudden start paying out Bitcoin to their employees if employees want it, because now you have BitPay that can do payroll in Bitcoins. So it's gonna take time. Like it's gonna take a lot of time to get that thing going. But it's almost like the early days of the internet when like somebody got a website, you're like, oh my gosh, there's a new website out, like Amazon.com. The first Amazon with just a little list on there. It's like, oh, there's a new website, and that's what's happening right now in Bitcoin. I mean, there was a company, I think a Firehouse Sub in Cincinnati that takes Bitcoin. It's like national news. You know what I'm saying? Firehouse Sub takes Bitcoin in Cincinnati. You know what I'm saying? So that's what's going on right now. And it's going to keep happening like that because it's so new. But what business owners are seeing is that, like BitPay does a wonderful thing. They say, you pay us $50 a month, we'll give you almost dang near unlimited transactions with no fees. What business doesn't want that? What business doesn't want to just pay $50 a month and every transaction to go through, I can do 1 million transactions and no fees? And BitPay is making profit on that. It's not like they're giving away the house. Think about that. That's empowering for a business owner, especially think about the margins in grocery stores. Anybody ever run a grocery store, you're talking about this kind of margin. He's about 3% maybe, right? Now put the extra 3% back on top. You just got 100% more profit for the year. That's amazing.
I think if it does take off, it's going to take off in the small business community. It's not going to take off in Fortune 500s. That's the last place it's going to wind up because, you know, if you think about it, you know, their shares are traded on risk. If they accumulate Bitcoins and it's volatile, their share price is going to be all over the place. Their shareholders will not tolerate that. The board of directors won't tolerate it. It's going to have to grow bottom up and eventually get to the point where it's, I guess, palatable in boardrooms.
So we say Fortune 500s, but I would say internet Fortune 500s, Amazon, they can benefit greatly. Amazon.com benefit greatly. That's why Overstock, it benefits greatly. Amazon, Apple actually just now filed a patent for their own digital wallet payment system. So here's what's so funny about it. It seems good. I mean, it seems like the good thing to do to like down Bitcoin if you're in the media or if you are a Fortune 500 company that's making, JP Morgan, Western Union. So you have a lot of money that you can kind of influence media to say this is awful, this sucks. You shouldn't have your own freedom. They're going to take it, you know, it's going to mess you up. You shouldn't have your own ability to do things with your money. Of course that's going to be good for them because they have a lot to lose. Western Union has a lot to lose. Western Union's been around since they were taking using a horse, going back and forth. And now Bitcoin comes in and just like knocks them off the horse. And it's like they're scrambling. PayPal, they're looking at it. Like these companies are looking at it. And the Overstock.com guy goes, listen, if we're taking Bitcoin, they did $130,000 in, does anybody know? I think it was 2 days in Bitcoin payments as soon as they launched. This thing's not going anywhere. Yes, sir, Mr. Carter.
So if you're a relative novice to all of this and you're a business owner, small business owner here in Lexington, Kentucky, and I won't hold you to it, but what are your sort of practical recommendations as far as, getting down,
so
put the logo up,
So I know there's like I said, I know there's one business that definitely takes Bitcoin in Lexington, Kentucky, 2/12. But what I recommend, because you'll get a lot of publicity just doing that. Like if you just put your name out and say I take Bitcoin, you might not get a lot of Bitcoin payments, right, but you'll get a lot of publicity. Because like I said, everybody's like, oh, he's taking it now, and you could be like, some random guy in Timbuktu. Matter of fact, what's the guy's name? The sheriff in the county that had down in Estill County. He said he's gonna take Bitcoin, and then he was on CNBC or something. It's like, you know what I mean? So what I recommend is Coinbase. Coinbase is a good way to get in. Like I said, because then they have merchant services. I got a buddy. He's not now my buddy named Garrett. He sells for BitPay. So I can hook you up with him. He'll get you a BitPay account if you want to take it, because they can transfer your money immediately. You can do whatever percentage you want. You can take all of your 100% of the Bitcoin money you get and turn it to fiat, or you can keep some of it and put the rest of it in fiat. So if you want to get into Bitcoin, I mean, that's a great way to do it, is to start offering services for it and see if people pay you for them. So, did that answer your question? Okay. Yes, sir.
Where do we get your wallet?
You get my wallet hopefully next week. We have the iPhone wallet, we have the Android wallet, and next week we'll start working on the Chrome wallet, the Chrome extension wallet. It works right now. Of course, there are bugs out the wazoo. If you guys want to, like Google. But if you want to, write down Lamar@212s.com. Send me an email, and I will get you on the membership list, because I want to start with Kentuckians first. I'm not prejudiced, camera, but I just love where I'm from. I just love where I'm from. So I want to really allow everybody here to get on it first. Yeah.
On the post today, there's 2 girls that accepted Bitcoin at their lemonade stand with the QR code.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So QR code. We're trying to, and the reason why I'm not bringing it up, because we're. Yeah. Are you ready to go? I'm sorry. He's pulling the coattails. Yeah. So the reason why I'm not really talking about QR codes and the addresses is because our wallet is trying to get rid of them. We're trying to make it easier for the normal person to just send using something that we call the Coin ID. We came up with this idea called the Coin ID. That's almost like a domain name for your Bitcoin address, but it's only within our system right now. We want to be able to open it up and create nodes and let everybody else do it. But our Coin ID allows you to pay to Leif, or pay to Lamar, or pay to 212s. Right? And you don't have to have the QR code and all of that other stuff. So we're trying to introduce that to make it a lot easier and accessible for people. Yeah.
What's a brain wallet?
Oh, brain wallet. So a brain wallet essentially is the fact that you can keep a passphrase in your head. So mine might be, I eat mayonnaise on Monday with Steve, right? Nobody's probably going to come up with that phrase, but I can take that phrase and create a wallet out of it. And then I never have to write it down. I never have to have any paperwork on it. Once I get the wallet and I have the public key, people can continuously pay my brain, basically. And when I want to get it back out, I put the phrase back in, hash it, 256 hash it, and get my private key back. Yeah.
So you're telling people to send it to that phrase?
No, they send it to a public address that you made from that phrase. So you have to still run it through the system to make sure that you have a public and a private key. But once you have it, you don't have to remember your private key. You just know the phrase and just run it back through again, and you can spend from it. And that's cool. Think about that. You can take more than $10,000 across the border in your head. You know what I'm saying?
You got that on film, didn't you?
Huh? Hey, you got it on film. It's the technology. You can. I mean, it's just in your head. It's in your head. So. Any other questions? I think we got to wrap it up. We have this place until 5, but we trying to get out here by 4. Yeah, what's up? Yeah, Christelle.
Any more questions? Alrighty, then we're going to wrap this thing up. And first of all, I would like to thank you for coming out on behalf of the Kentucky Innovation Network, and also on behalf of TechBase 10. What we'd like you to do is to fill out the surveys that you have for us. We really appreciate if you did. Then once you're able to do that, what we advise you to do is go on to TechBase 10 and sign up for membership so that you can get newsletters and information about what's going on. As we stated at the beginning of this particular seminar, is that TechBase 10 is focused on helping technology companies, entrepreneurs, and technologists to grow and flourish in Kentucky. We're seeing, thus far we've had well over about 150 attendees at various events. We've got just about 50 members within TechBase 10. We'd love for you all to go in and, as we said, start to get the information. We have some collaborations going on. We'd like you to give us your feedback about what can TechBase 10 do for you. Thank you for coming, and we hope to see you again soon.
And I have cards if you want a card, so you don't have to write down my email. I have cards up here. Thank you all for coming out.